The Department of Health and Human Services, which includes the National Institutes of Health, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Food and Drug Administration, has a unique format for biosketches. The NIH Biosketch is the only place within the application in which you have space to explain your team's qualifications to complete the SBIR project. Make sure you ask your team members for their curricula vitae or resumes early. These biosketches are time-consuming projects. Don't risk the wait. A team member could be out of town when the deadline approaches. Here is a sample from their website. Let's walk through it. First, check the document date. Make sure you're using the current template. It's required to include all named senior level staff and consultants. We also recommend including advisors. You can leave the ERA Commons username blank for everyone except for the principal investigator. The position title is relative to the project, not your job title. Make sure to identify your principal investigator as such. Identify your consultants as consultants, not by other titles. List education beginning with the bachelor degree first, and include your graduation month, not just the year. The personal statement is a first-person narrative, up to half a page long. Here's where you describe your qualifications. Remember, this is the only place reviewers learn about you, so don't be modest. No one else will be. Link your qualifications to your role in this particular project. Forgetting to describe your project role is a very common mistake. If you are basing the biosketch on an old one you made for a previous project, don't forget to update your personal statement to describe your role in this particular project. You are allowed to describe personal circumstances that left holes in your resume in the personal statement, but you don't have to, and we don't recommend it. But do state if your name differs across your publications due to marriage or divorce or other circumstances. You are allowed to add 4 references following the personal statement. We like to put the person's name in bold in each reference so it pops. If applicable, include the PMC ID number. All of the kinds of references listed here are allowed, but patents and peer-reviewed publications are the most impressive to Department of Health and Human Services reviewers, and they are expected for scientists and engineers. If you happen to be a software developer, that's different. Then software is the expected reference type. Like with the education section, you are expected to list the earliest place of employment first and proceed chronologically. You only need to include relevant work history. There is no need to list your college job waiting tables. Make sure the employees of your small business, including those you plan to hire as soon as you get the SBIR funding, list their position at your small business as the last item on their work history. The other experience and honor sections are more opportunities to brag, so don't skip them. Instead of providing one long reference list, this format requires you to describe up to 5 contributions to science in narrative form. If you are a non-scientist, such as a business advisor, think creatively about your contributions. Have you been involved in obtaining patents, walking products through FDA approval, or bringing new technologies to market? If there really is nothing you can add that applies, it is acceptable for non-scientists to leave the contribution section blank. And like you did up above the personal statement, add up to 4 references to each description of a contribution to science. The same kinds of references that were allowed for the personal statement also apply to the contributions to science section. And again, while any of these are allowed, patents and publications are preferred for scientists and engineers, and software for developers. Altogether, you could have up to 24 references in your biosketch, listed under your personal statement and your contributions to science. But if you want to include even more publications, you are allowed to provide a link to your complete list of publications. The link must go to a government website such as the National Institutes of Health. Instructions on how to create a personal bibliography at the National Institutes of Health website are available by following this URL. The last section is for research support. There is also an option to put scholastic performance, but this option is only for students and does not apply to SBIR applications. The research support section is optional, but recommended. Include it if you want to show off other projects you are working on or have finished within the past 3 years. You may not list older projects. Again, a common mistake when reusing an old biosketch as a template for a new one is failing to update the research support section to exclude projects that are now more than 3 years in the past. Remember, these aren't allowed. When you are done, make sure your final biosketch does not exceed the 5-page limit. If you followed the format correctly, your biosketch will probably fit within the 5-page limit without a problem. If you are a Utah company, We encourage you to send your Biosketch to the Utah Industry and Innovation Center after you have drafted it. We will review and edit it and help you perfect it for submission. Our application assistance services are available free of charge to Utah companies. Companies who work with us have a 25% win rate, well above the 15% win rate nationwide.